Well, hello, and welcome back after a while. Actually, it's been insane. It's not like I don't want to do this. I want to do this, but I just can't seem to find the time or sometimes the energy to record this. Um, I've had a lot to say the past few months or a couple of months. I don't know how long it's been since I last recorded something. So it's not like lack of content. It's not, um, but it's mostly been just lack of time, I guess. But here we are, recording from my hotel room, from a undisclosed location somewhere in the upper northwest, I guess, of the country. But here we are, May 19th. So these days, couple of my interests, um one being football, the other being wrestling. um it's such a weird thing that today, May 19th, and I was reading this up somewhere, that this is quite a significant day in wrestling history. Not a significant day, but an interesting day. So this is such a weird thing. I just found this out. So May 19th is the day when Kane, the wrestler Kane, apparently the storyline that they had for him in WWE, in the storyline, he he lost his, I guess, real parents or adopted parents or both guardians or someone, family, uh, because of a fire at the house where they used to live. And because of that, Kane developed this really dark side, which is what was, critical to his character, um, in the WWE. And apparently, apparently, he that event occurred on May 19th. I don't know how this date was decided or why this was decided. Um, but apparently it's been a thing, and I had no idea it was. I saw a clip where, uh, so silly, so silly. I saw a clip where JBL, who's a wrestler, John Bradshaw Layfield. I don't know. I'm just going pretty deep into some wrestling conversation on a podcast that is for Jurgen, and I'll get to him. Trust me. But anyway, I digress. Or am I? Um, so JBL asks Rey Mysterio, who's in the ring. I think this is SmackDown or something, and he asks Rey Mysterio that, "Hey, do you know what day it is? Can you can you tell me today's date or something along those lines?" And Rey Mysterio looks confused as fuck. Says, "Yeah, I know what date it is. It's May 19th." And then JBL starts laughing, like really cynically, loudly over the microphone, of course. Otherwise, how would you know? And then he says, "Well, you asked for it. Now you have to deal with the consequences." And nobody has any idea what the fuck he's talking about. But then Kane's music hits, and he comes walking down the ramp to, what I assume, continue, progress to whoop, some Rey Mysterio ass. But that's how I was. I was intrigued. I saw this clip online, and I was like, "What the fuck is this May 19th date has to do with Kane walking down the ramp so angry?" And uh, uh, um, and apparently JBL knew about it, and it's like some fucking code, for to make Kane angry or something, and apparently he did. So, so I don't know. The clip cuts out right when he's walking down the ramp, but I guess the suggestion was pretty strong that he proceeds to whoop his ass, whoop Rey Mysterio's ass. Anyway, So that's the significance of May 19th and this other interest that I have these days, which is wrestling. Um, but the significance to May 19th, um, in my interest that is, um, other than wrestling, i.e., football, is something that can never be overstated, or, it is impossible to weigh the importance of this date. Um, and sometimes, you weigh the importance of dates when something starts, something occurs where it marks the beginning of something. That's where you feel like that's the important chapter of the day. This is such an important date. This is when it began. Independence days, countries getting independence on certain days. That's a pretty marked, you know, day in history. Someone becomes a prime minister or president. That date is marked on the calendars as a significant date. But this particular this particular date and its significance is marking the end of an era of, who many consider a modern day great, a modern day Liverpool great, a modern day certified legend. And I'll get to the whole debate about whether he is a legend or he's a Liverpool legend or a Premier League legend. There's various debates on that actively happening, and I want to weigh in on that as well. But today, May 19th, was the last day that Jurgen Klopp managed Liverpool. His era and time at the club spanning about 8 years, you a little over 8 years, um, ended today, and he signed off with a victory at Anfield, um, against Wolves. Um, and here we are, and lots of things. I mean, I did a podcast on success and what it means, and talked briefly about what I'm going to talk about today. With regards to Jurgen Klopp and his achievements and his contribution to the Premier League. But um, but like I said in that other podcast as well, that that episode, that I really wanted to dedicate a full uh, podcast on Jurgen Klopp's achievement, and not just talk generically about the meaning of success. And this time I'm going to focus more specifically on the meaning of legend and the legendary status and what it means, and how people throw that word around, great and all that stuff. They throw it around so nonchalantly, so meaninglessly. So it loses a lot of its charm and loses a lot of its meaning, in my opinion. But so I mean, it's no shame, and it's no shame. It's no secret that I am a, a an ardent Liverpool fan who has been following the club since 2003, 2004, and it's never been um a fairy tale ride, being a Liverpool fan. If I understand some people who don't live, in the geographies where these clubs are from, i.e., Manchester or Liverpool, or London for Arsenal or Chelsea, so on and so forth. I mean, um, it's very common that people usually watch certain teams and see them win most of the time, and they're like, oh, wow, I would love to support this team because these guys are winners. And that's why, in my generation, when I was getting introduced to football, I was surrounded by people who were either Man United fans, Arsenal fans, even Chelsea fans, and Chelsea was just getting started at the time. but not many, if any, Liverpool fans. And it is, it is quite the opposite of jumping the bandwagon. And I'm not criticizing people who chose United, chose Arsenal or other clubs to support Chelsea, even Man City. I don't have anything bad to say about them, especially when they don't live in those geographies. So it's open season. You can pick anyone you want to pick. So there's no. I'm not going to judge you. There's no moral codes associated with it. But if there were to be a code associated with it, I'm pretty sure you would agree that picking Liverpool over some of the other teams is quite the opposite of jumping the bandwagon, quite the opposite of glory hunting. Although I do remember my first couple of years as a Liverpool fan, we won the Champions League, we won the FA Cup, but those were like blips, if anything, out of pretty much meaningless seasons. Initially guaranteed top four finishes, not many title challenges, if any. I think I remember one under Rafa, during Alex Ferguson's time, one under Brendan Rodgers, um, against the then Man City, or the I say resurgence, but basically the coming of age of that club with the money and that investment that went behind the scenes. So I've only seen two proper, not even proper. I've only seen two experiences of a title challenge in my life as a Liverpool fan, up until the point that Jurgen Klopp was appointed the manager for Liverpool. So up until that point, I'm not talking about glorious. I'm talking about the times, and I hate doing this. I know I hate throwing the likes of Rafa or Brendan Rodgers or Roy Hodgson under the bus, because but the fact remains that those weren't the most happiest times. Granted, Rafa gave us some really really solid years, but towards the end of his time, it was difficult to watch us play. Some of our recruitments at the time which was left a lot to be desired. Even when we were winning and guaranteed Champions League spots, we never really got the best players in the market. We got some of these obscure players like um, Varanin and Momo Sissoko and some other really really maybe decent players, but they didn't really gel or didn't really perform um, like we wanted them to perform. Meanwhile, Man United were acquiring Carlos Tevez and Berbatov and Cristiano Ronaldo and Rooney. These are magnificent, huge talents, and they became massive hits at their at those at that club. At the same time, I think our most prestigious signing was Fernando Torres, in those late 2010s, and then comes Luis Suarez, who at the time again was a frustrating signing. Played under uh, uh, Kenny Dalglish for a couple of years or a year and a half, wherever his time at the club was at. Then Brendan Rodgers really took him to the heights that we saw him. But it was a surprise. It was an absolute surprise that we saw the Suarez that we saw, and then obviously he went on to do amazing things at Barcelona, and obviously it was not a surprise why he was the way he was at Liverpool. But the idea here is that um, that being a Liverpool fan was difficult. It was frustrating, but because these are loyalties attached to it, and once you get on, you'll find you're like, okay, you know what, I'm going to stick to them, see what happens. And at the end of the day, they are a glorious club with a great history and an amazing stadium and some brilliant, and a brilliant past and some heritage that you can hang on to. But in the current times, it had not much to show for. I still remember our victory in the Carling Cup final against, or at the time it was Carling Cup, now it's Carabao. I don't know who we beat in the final. I think it was like Cardiff or something. Um, Not a big team, I'm remembering. But anyway, that was our victory in 2012, I think, 2011 or 2012. And then, it took us like 5, 6 years to win a cup. Before that, it was 2006 FA Cup. Before that, 2005 Champions League. Before that, 2001 the FA Cup and the Carling Cup and the Europa Cup. Maybe there was a cup in the middle, but I don't remember quite, frankly. But I wasn't following them at the time. But I've only seen like before Jurgen Klopp 3 trophy lifts: Champions League, FA Cup, and the Carling Cup. Um, God forbid we got even close for a Premier League lift, but that's what it was. And then on comes Jurgen Klopp, and he certainly had a reputation, and brought in a lot of excitement, to be honest. And but I'm thinking about how I was feeling at the time, and to be honest, I wasn't feeling like this is going to change our fortunes overnight, and this is like some Jose Mourinho 2005 level signing for us, or this is like Pep Guardiola, although he wasn't in the market at the time. But it didn't really give me those vibes. But it was like, we have a big name here. This is one of the top managers out there, and we managed to get him again. That's why I gave the background that we never really used to attract a lot of talent. So it was quite a pleasant surprise to see us attract someone with that caliber. But I remember his first season. Again, it was frustrating. It was just like growing pains. He came in with this heavy metal football, with just Gengen pressing. I don't know, is what it's referred to in German, and it's basically high press game where all of your forward line and midfielders, everyone's pressing, you know, uh, 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 counter pressing from the top. So it's not like a defender must defend or a defensive midfielder must defend. Everyone's defending and pressing to win the ball back, and preferably in their half, in the opposition team's half, and then taking advantage of you know uh, the shape that certain teams lose when they lose the ball. They're out of shape, so taking advantage of the holes and the gaps that pop up, and then you score. So it was a lot of growing pain, but in the first season we were still able to get to one Carling Cup or Carabao Cup final against Man City. Fuck them. And a final of the Europa League against Seville. Both of these finals we lost, and I remember watching them, and it was like painful. That's again, it's a continuation of pain, but it was nothing that I wasn't used to. It wasn't something that I was like, oh fuck, we lost. It was like, yeah, you know what? That's the name of the game, I guess, because we start doubting every time we're in those positions, and I still do at times where I really don't feel like we're gonna be able to cross the line because something's gonna happen, and the bad guys are gonna win. But um, we I think its first season we finished eighth, and we had a handful. I don't think we had any signings. Um, the next season we finished fourth. Um, you know, I don't think there was any significant cup runs, but we were able to get back into the Champions League, which has been a while before this, and we were not a regular. The following season, we um, I think this was the season when yeah, okay, yeah. So the season we finished fourth is the season when we made it to the Champions League final. We lost to Real Madrid. The next season we um um well, actually, let me I'm just remembering this as we go. I did glance through it before the podcast started, but I think I'm forgetting something. But we finished fourth in the following season. We we um um we went to the final of the Champions League. That was our first season back in the Champions League. First season Klopp had with us in the Champions League. We had Mo Salah join us in the summer, and then Van Dijk over in the winter. We lost the final to Real Madrid. On comes the following season. We get Allison, Van Dijk in goal. When Allison in goal, Van Dijk at the back. Has a both of them have a stellar season. We finished with about what was it, 97 points, and um, and we win the Champions League. We finished second in the league. We were in a proper title race. So this is my first experience under Klopp in title race where we have 97 points. That's fucking insane, bro. Um, then the following season, we amass 99 points, win the league. And then the following season, which was the COVID cut season, we lose, players to injury, and the COVID, freakness was still on, and we finished third. Still made it to the Champions League with like reserve center halves. And then the season after that, we finished with 93, 94 points. Again, finished second behind Man City. Went on an unbelievable run, which I still to this day, I had a podcast I recorded right after we lost to Real Madrid in the Champions League final, and I still feel like that is one of the best seasons that an English team has put out in forever. Because for an English team to go out and with the challenges that us Liverpool has with their squad, we don't have money to spend around like other big teams do, so it's a very tight ship that we run. And with those challenges, you go on and then you compete for 4 trophies, out of which you win 2, and the others you lose on the final day freakishly. That final day in the Premier League, I'll never forget. Again, another title race. The third title race under Jurgen Klopp in, I don't know, six years. And the Champions League final, which we lost. So we actually had 2 Champions League finals lost under Jurgen Klopp. 1 Europa League final lost under Klopp. 1 Carling Cup or Carabao Cup final lost. So again, it was a mixed bag. It was a pretty Liverpool thing, but because we were up against this juggernaut in Man City who just don't make mistakes, and they have a freakish manager. They have the riches of the world that they can throw around and get what they want, and they do what they need to do without taking any credit away from what they do on the pitch and the manager that they have. But these are the realities of the world. I mean, you cannot deny that Man City are where they are because of the wealth that they get to spend. I mean, anyone saying that that's not the case is just lying. But and then last season, we were able to. It was a pretty poor season. Finished 5th, I think, or 6th or 5th, I think it was. But with an aging midfield, it was just definitely on the cards. And then coming off of a season where we chased 4 trophies, it was bound to happen because you get a bit of tired legs in the team. And then comes this season, where this was supposed to be a developing season, supposed to be a season where we go back into the Champions League, which we did. By the end of the season, we won a cup as well, finished third by 81 points, 82 points, whatever it was. Again, these are like high point scoring Premier League seasons that we were participating in, which were more than enough in previous years for you to win the league. I mean, one time I would have hoped, Man City, just one of those close title runs that we had with them, that they drop and we take the advantage. It's just would have loved that to happen one time, but it didn't. Um, but in summary, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that this is what the growth was, and this is how where we came from, and here where we are right now. Very comfortable back into the top, where we are considered title challengers, considered cup challengers, or considered Champions League contestants, strong contestants in the Champions League year in year out. Um, we're in the mix of the conversation. We're no longer on the fringes. That is down to Jurgen Klopp. Um, I think people weigh too much importance on winning just cups. And I know, again, I talked about this. I talked about this in my success podcast, and then podcast before that when I talked about our quadruple chasing season. But I want to bring it up here is that people put too much emphasis on the winners, and it's fine. The winners deserve the spotlight, and there can only be one winner. And that's completely fine. No two ways about it. But that limiting that we, the limiting that we exercise by suggesting that that only one team is supposed to get the praise and the others don't, and only one team is supposed to be quote unquote legendary, the others aren't, because they won more. I I challenge that very seriously and humbly, because um I mean, you're looking at one manager, you're looking at um one team, one club eventually ultimately picking up the crown every year. So the others that don't, are they completely out of the conversation? I'm not saying that you also share the spotlight with them and treat them like winners too. No. But are they completely outside of the conversation of having a discussion whether to see if these teams are great, their managers are great, teams are legendary, managers are legendary or not? Are they completely out of the conversation? Because it just doesn't sound right to me. The reason why it doesn't sound right to me is that not every club or every player or every manager has won everything. Um, it's not been done. And it's not. It's very rare for that to happen. So our standards of that, that you have to be this high to ride this this uh, this train, is just those are way too high of standards. So here's my argument. Here's my case for suggesting. I'm pretty sure I don't have to convince many people here. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will agree with me, but some of them, especially people on the internet, like Piers Morgan and others, who think, and even Simon Jordan, these people who think that Jurgen Klopp is a Liverpool legend and a Liverpool great, but not a Premier League legend and a Premier League great. That's absurd. That's ridiculous. I mean, I'll ask you a question. Who consider these? Who consider that Jurgen Klopp isn't a legend or a great manager? Um, is Arsene Wenger a great manager or a legendary manager in the Premier League? I think the answer to that is pretty simple. Yes, people say yes, he is. Out of in his 24 years at the club, he won the title 3 times. Forget about the Champions League. He didn't even got to one final in the Champions League. One. I think maybe there was one semifinal. Maybe, I'm thinking. But his record in the Champions League, Arsenal's record in the Champions League, is abysmal. But let's put that aside. Just talk about the Premier League. 24 seasons he was at the club. 24 years. Won just 3 Premier League titles. That's a success rate about, I don't know, I think 13, 14%. if you do the math. But he's considered a certified 100%, no questions about it, legend. I considered him a legend too. He is a legend. And we'll get to that phrase. What does this fucking word mean? But, let's park that for a second. Um, so I said it's a success rate of about 13, 14% of winning the Premier League. Jurgen Klopp has been with Liverpool, was with Liverpool about 7, 8 years, won just one Premier League. That's about 12% success rate mathematically. It's just maths, no arguments. It's just objective truth. So how can a person with 13% success rate be considered a legend or a great and this icon in the Premier League, and the one with 12% not? So are we saying that the cutoff is 13%? But who created that? Who came up with that math? Who came up with that logic that 13% is the cutoff? After below that, no legend, no great, no massive status. 13% plus, yeah. That's a fucking ridiculous argument. It's an absurd thing to say. Um, Putting aside the Champions League, which we cannot, by the way, because if you are a Premier League legend, you cannot just be judged on how many Premier Leagues you won, but you have to also see the overall package. Like, what did you do outside of the Premier League? What did you do outside of England? How well did you do in Europe? It has to be a question that has to be answered for you to be seriously considered a Premier League legend. Um, like I said, Arsene Wenger won nothing in Europe, zero. My boy Jurgen, we're talking about um, 4 European Cup finals in 8 years, out of which he won one. But being at the final is not, Arsenal fans would love to be in that position, but they're not. So they can sit down. They can sit their sorry asses down, because they're not. They're not us. They're not in those conversations. Jurgen Klopp is the only Premier League era manager after Sir Alex Ferguson and Pep Guardiola, who has won the Premier League and the Champions League. Three people in the whole league have done that. Nobody else. So that means nothing to Piers Morgan. That means nothing to all of the other naysayers. Simon Jordan. That stat says nothing to you. And and Arsene Wenger is a Premier League legend, who I'm agreeing he is. But come on, the standards have to be applied consistently. Not that fucking Simon Jordan or Piers Morgan, others, their opinion matters on this, because they're nobodies. They're fucking nobodies when it comes to that. So I'm quoting people who legitimately are somebodies. When Jose Mourinho, when Pep Guardiola, when even Arsene Wenger, when Alex Ferguson, when these guys rate Jurgen Klopp as a certified legend in the Premier League, then fuck you to everybody else. I don't need to go any further than that, right? So in certain cases, opinions do matter depending on who they're coming from, and this is one of them. If you have in one corner Pep Guardiola, who just stated today that he considered Jurgen a legend and a massive figure at that club, same level as Paisley and Shankly. I either you say that this guy don't know what he's talking about, or you got to take him for his word, right? The word legend, what does that mean? Like, what classifies as a legend? What classifies as a great? Again, these phrases are thrown around willy nilly, mean nothing. But at sometimes, that this is the right time, because we're talking about legacy here, to go back and see what these words really mean. legend, as far as I remember in the dictionary, just means someone who's famous, who's well known, who's known because of their achievements. That's all. Um, but I mean, but if we're talking about like legends in sports, football specifically here, we're talking about people who've won something, who've left an impact, which is unbelievable, or something that is a major, massive impact on the whole league. I mean, and I just talked about Gengen pressing. Previous to, like, which manager before Jurgen Klopp in the Premier League era or any eras before that in England, brought this revolution into the sport, where you hadn't seen this type of play in the Premier League applied, and the intensities of the Premier League are different from the intensities of the German league or any other league outside of England, in Europe, or the world for that matter. So to avoid to employ that intense methodology at a club like Liverpool and in a league like the Premier League is a remarkable achievement in its own. And anyone who's seen Liverpool play, it's admirable. I mean, I think you'll have only dumb people who will complain about how they play. I mean, everybody loves to see Liverpool play. It's just an objective fact these days, and that is because of Jurgen Klopp. Um, and this is exactly the reason why I also consider uh, Arsene Wenger a legend, because he's not just a legend because he won Premier Leagues. He's a legend also because he brought something revolutionary to the Premier League, which was the tiki taka, or whatever you want to call it, like the fast passing, sexy football type of thing. People loved watching Arsenal. I loved watching that old Arsenal team play. They were just unbelievable, especially at Highbury. They were just remarkable to see that small ground, small spaces and pockets, and those triangle passes. Patrick Vieira, this massive guy, just passing so cutely, and Thierry Henry, Bergkamp, all these people. Um, that was all because of Arsene Wenger. That's why. So he left a stamp on the league, and not just his own team, but the league as a whole. And that's why he's a legend. Same reason why, putting aside Premier League wins that Pep Guardiola has, but his tactics that he's employed at Man City, they separate him from, the pack because of what he's brought to the league in terms of how they play. So, uh, um, outside of winning, the legacy that you leave in terms of how you played is critical, of utmost importance as well. So, for people to consider Jurgen Klopp not a legend is just beyond me, because there's nothing that you can take away. And again, knowing Jurgen Klopp, and people who've seen him, I've seen him from afar, millions of miles away. I've seen him, but from what I've read, that's who he is. Knowing him, seeing him through, and knowing him through seeing him, these conversations, this conversation that I'm trying to have here and trying to prove that he's a legend or a great, has zero impact in his mind. He doesn't give a shit about this. That's what makes him even more greater, because he's not chasing these clouts. He's not chasing, oh, I need to be, in that cool group of managers where I'm like, he knows how good he is. And I think he said that um um at Monday Night Football. I think um Jamie Carragher quoted this in an interview or a podcast or something, where he said that, Jurgen Klopp said that I wanted to be and hang out with really big managers like Alex Ferguson and Pep Guardiola and others. I just wanted to hang out with them once to see if I'm as good as them. And once I figured it out, I was pretty happy. I didn't have to hang out with them again. And so he's very, very self assured, and he knows who he is and how good he is. So he does not need these, certainly not a random podcaster like myself, in my podcast trying to prove that he's a great or a legend. But it's something that wanted to get out because for far too long, people get away with these like treacherous almost things they say online, and no one checks them, back. And maybe they do. I haven't seen anyone, but I wanted to do that in my own little space here. Um, so now that I've established and I've solved this equation of like whether he's a legend or not, um, looking forward, what do we have? I mean, only only if you're Jurgen Klopp is when you can create a song for your um, successor while you're giving out your goodbye speech. And he did that with Arne Slot, who's, pretty much there. He's going to join us come, I think, June 1st. I don't know. I mean, technically, he's out of his job. So at Feyenoord, and Jurgen Klopp is left, starting Monday. He's going to leave the club May 20th. So technically, I think he can join right away, but I don't know. That announcement's going to come next week, pretty sure. But his era is going to begin. So what do I have hopes for? Again, if you've seen the journey of me being a Liverpool fan, it's never been like where it's either laden with zero movement or zero celebrations, or just heavy of victories and all, like you're tired of winning. None of that happens. So I'm pretty sure my expectation with Arne Slot is he's going to continue to take this club forward, doing the right pieces of businesses that Jurgen used to do. We have a fantastic backroom staff, utmost confidence in them. They're going to do the right thing, do the club the right way. Tactically, I think there's no question about Arne Slot that how good he is. But I think it comes down to the players if they really want to step up and really prove that they can play under Arne Slot, who's a relatively unknown figure in the world of management, football management. But here we are. We got to start somewhere, and this is a massive opportunity for him. And I'm 100% behind him, especially after that chat that Jurgen did today. And so you can't not be behind that man. I was behind Roy Hodgson. I don't even remember Roy Hodgson was booed like viciously, and when he was at the club. So that's what we do at Liverpool. We back the manager. We support the manager. But yeah, that's where we are. Jurgen Klopp, he is someone that in my lifetime that I will forever revere, respect, admire. I will, if I can, travel the ends of this world to see him speak and talk, and what I would give for a pep talk from him. He took all of the Liverpool fans, including myself, on a journey of doubters to believers. He said that in a press conference, and I heard that. And people say these things all the time, and you never really pay attention until you see it happen. And it happened in front of my own eyes, where we went from doubters to believers, where we are in a position, like I said, where we're the first few teams that if people were to put down their winners of different competitions, we're the first few teams that pop up in everyone's mind, haters or lovers, whoever you want to call it. So he got us here. He got us into this position where we are in the conversation. And that's why he's a great too. And that's what I argued in my previous podcast about success and all that stuff. Success is not just winning. It is winning as a part of it, is a cherry on top that you get to win. You get to celebrate the silverware. Success is giving it your 1000%, leaving nothing in the tank, you know, and then walking away from it. That's all. That's success. And there's no way anyone can tell me that these players or the managers over the past 8 years did not give their all to this man and to the club and to the fans. So 1000% successful, 1000% admirable, certified legend, Jurgen Klopp. I'll be back with another one. Hopefully, I get to record a few while I'm here, locked in my hotel room after work. And yeah, how was that? Thanks, and do subscribe to the channel. Do leave us a rating on Spotify and other podcasting platforms, wherever you're listening to us from. And I'll be back with another one. Thanks. Bye.